everybody, and welcome to another Maya tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you some basic Maya materials because they're really powerful, and I feel that you should be introduced to them early so you can start playing with them. Because you'll find out about them later and you'll be like, well, why wasn't I using these before? So I'll show you them to you now. Something to keep in mind with them is that you can't see them if you're rendering, if you're not rendering a mental ray. So that's one thing you have to do. So if you're using Maya software and you have it all set up for Maya software, you need to think of alternatives. But I always render it in mental ray anyway because it's more accurate with light and whatnot. So it's not a big deal for me, but it's something to keep in mind. So you'll need to come here to your render settings, turn mental ray on, and then I'd recommend going to your quality and setting it to production. Okay, so I'm just setting up a simple scene here. I'll make a scene cube, my attribute editor, render stats, decided opposite. Make that a little bigger. Actually, well, move this down. Bigger, move it back up. So it's sitting on our ground plane. So I just have some spheres and then a cube. And if we render it, it's going to look pretty boring. So we also need to put in a basic light. I'm going to create a light, just I don't know, spotlight, I guess. The reason I'm doing this is because MIA or MIA materials also will not recognize anything that has the render black for the background. Because it's very realistic in its reflections. It doesn't fake it, and so if it's not reflecting anything, if it's just plain black, it'll look really weird. So I'd recommend setting up a simple scene. I'll turn on my ray tracing shadows, my light. So if we're into this again, we should get that. Something simple, straightforward, plain. I'm going to change my penumbra angle on my light. Okay, so if we open up the hypershader, which is in window, render setting, rendering editors, hypershade. You have these basic materials here. Asotropic, Boolean, Lambert, Phong. I believe I showed these in an earlier video. But if you come down here under the mental ray tab, there's materials. There's a whole bunch of materials, and I don't even know what half of them are. But today we're going to be looking at my material X. Select it. And let's select our first sphere and assign material to selection. Okay, so alright. The cool thing about MIA materials is there is a lot of good presets. That's basically what I'm going to be showing today. There's Chrome, So just go Chrome Replace. Go my hypershader again. Let's make a new material X. Click and drag. Let's make another one. 2 more. Click and drag, and middle click and drag. And I'm just kind of demonstrating what the different shaders look like, so you have an idea. Oops. So this one, I'll make copper. This one, I'll make solid glass. And this last one, I will make sand metal. Okay, so now if I render this, you can see we have these materials. And right away you can see they look great. They have really nice realistic shines to them and other things. This looks brushed. This looks like a glass marble. This looks like, you know, one of those copper gazing balls. And this looks like one of those steel ball bearings. So right there we can see some really cool things with it. If we make a texture for our room that has a pattern on it, so I'm going to come here and I'm going to make a Fong, and I'm going to apply it to the cube, and then I'm going to come over here and click the little shader, the option box, over here and attach checker, and I'm going to up my repeat here, let's do 20, 20. Should probably be good, and let's see what this looks like. I render again. Okay, so definitely not perfect, but this will give us a good idea. As you can see, they're doing full reflectivity of the environment. And I'm actually going to scale this guy up, which is my glass. I'm going to move him towards the camera so we can better see what the glass does, because this is really quite useful. Hit render again. Okay. As you can see, it's calculating refractions very, very realistically. And there's different weights of glass, as you can see in the presets. There's solid, thick, thin, and physical. Physical and solid are pretty much the same, as far as I can tell. Thick would be something like if you had a big glass tumbler or something, that would be thick. Solid would be like a block or a marble. Thin would be stuff like windows, other things like that, stuff that don't have any actual refraction that we notice. What's really nice about using glass, the glass part, is that it's like 3 clicks and you have a good solid piece of glass. So if you're making like a blender or something, you can just throw it on your glass pitcher part of it, and you have a nice looking texture on it. You can play around with the different ones. Like if I change this to, there's also frosted glass, which is kind of interesting. If I do thick and then re-render that, it should have a little different refraction. As you can see, it's not blue anymore. It's more clear looking, depending on what you're looking for. Do frosted glass, I'll show you real quick. Doing like a bathroom window or kitchen cabinets or something that has frosted glass in it. Looks pretty realistic. Takes a little longer to render because of the particles. Let's change that back to thick glass. Yeah, so the satin metal is probably the second most useful shader in the MIA materials. The reason being is that it has the anisotropic settings set pretty good by default. Because you can get your blends to look like copper or chrome without too much pain and anguish, but to get your anisotropic show right is quite difficult. So as you can see, it has this long, elongated reflections on it, and it's starting in the middle, and we can change that real quick, and I'll show you how that works. Shader, select our metal, come down here on the side inputs, go down to anisotropy, and change channel to channel 1, there's a 0, I think it's 0, and then re-render it. -1 or 1 is for square objects, and 0 does round objects. So as you can see, it now doesn't star in the middle and look funny. So that's something you can do. Media materials are insanely powerful. You can make a lot of cool things with them. You have total control over everything. As you can see, one material can make metal, rubber, ceramic, glass, brush metal. I mean, any hard surface you can think of, it can make it. So I mean, the settings are there. All the presets are, it just goes and changes the settings. You can up the glossiness more, like something like that. Re-render that. As you can see, it looks less grainy, more shiny. If you lower the samples, it'll look grainier. You can also up the glossy sample. I mean, you lower the glossiness, it'll look grainier. You up the glossy samples, it'll remove the grain. But this will kill your render times, just so you know. Double or triple them, depending on how much you set it. So be judicious with glossy samples. You can change the way it looks. The reflectivity. You can do refraction colors if you're doing glass or whatnot. You can attach images to the reflections, and this is the color. It's called diffuse. You can make it powdery and rough like clay or rubber. So there's a lot of cool things you can do. This is to give you a basic idea. There's enough default shaders to get you started. Use one you like, start playing around with it, adjust some of the settings, start tweaking it. That's the big thing about these materials, is just playing with them. So I hope this was informative, and hopefully I'll see you guys in my next video.